Hi, I'm Gracie Murphy, President of HOC Justice Project, and we're here for another episode of Testify, and today is a day that we're definitely going to testify. As usual, if you like what you hear today, press the like button. Please share this with others so the message can be shared with them, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you can receive notices when we have new episodes. By the time this episode comes out, it will be about a week after the events of last night and this morning that I want to share with you today. We're always supposed to testify the things that God does. And for those of you who don't know what we do, we have a home for girls pregnant by rape and incest. And we have a refuge for women and children in the moment of crisis here in Honduras as part of our Justice Center. And about 3 or 4 months ago, we received a 13-year-old little girl who had been raped by her stepfather, and she was 4 months pregnant. So yeah, that was, do the math here. Today, is her 37-week pregnancy date. These pregnancies of young girls are always so difficult. They're high-risk pregnancies. She was extremely high risk because she was also extremely malnourished. The day she arrived, she was the size of an 8-year-old and weighed less than 80 pounds and was 4 or 5 months pregnant at that time. And she's been with us, and she's been blossoming, and she's been growing, and she's been putting on weight. We've been in the process of coordinating with the child welfare system and the doctors for her to have a scheduled cesarean. And today was the day she was going to get the note from the doctor recommending the cesarean, and tomorrow they were going to Tagoo to organize the date for it later this week. Well, God has other plans, and it's interesting how He allows things to happen when you are at your weakest so that He shows Himself strong. Yesterday I had a bad day. I was in pain from fibromyalgia. The power was out. It was affecting ability to get the work done, and I was literally a grump last night. My sister called, and I didn't answer because I didn't want to talk to anybody. It was nighttime, and I was done, and I was in pain and didn't feel good, and I'm sick of all the power being out and everything. And then she called me again later, and I was like, ugh. But I answered it. It was like 8:15, and we talked until 9, and I took medicine. I took my medicine for the fibromyalgia for the night, and I also took medicine for the pain, which usually knocks me out for the night, and nothing wakes me up. And a little bit, at about 9:05, I hung up with my sister and went to bed, and I heard 3 steps that sounded like a man walking on the roof of my house. And so I was a bit nervous about what was going on, so I got up and was standing guard to see if I heard any more sounds. It sounded like 3 steps of a heavy body walking across the roof above my bed, and nothing happened. And so at about 10 o'clock I went back and laid down in bed, and 5 minutes later I heard a man's voice on our walkie-talkies. So I got up and I went to the walkie-talkie. I'm listening to the roof above, and I'm listening to the walkie-talkie to see if there's another sound. It crackles, and then I hear, "Mommy Gracie, Mommy Gracie." So then I heard some more words, and I heard pain, and I heard Kimberly, and so I said, "What's going on?" And it was one of the nannies saying that Kimberly was bleeding and that she was having pain. And I said, "Well, I'll be right out back now." You have to understand, we have a lot of locked gates here. And I had to get through 2 locked gates. Actually, I had to get out of my locked house, which is a gate, and to get through 2 locked gates and the locked door of the children's home to get into the children's home. And so it was a thing with flashlights and keys and getting clothes on and grabbing the walkie-talkie and grabbing the telephone. It was a bit disorienting, especially since I was so heavily sedated with the medicine. And so I get back there, and she had lost her plug, and she said she was having pains, but her body wasn't doing the contractions. I had my hand on her belly, and it wasn't squeezing. And she'd say she had pain, but she didn't look like she was in pain. And so we waited a little bit, took a pressure, and waited, and then she started to demonstrate. After about 20 minutes, she put her head back, and like the pain was much stronger. And then she said, I feel nauseous. She said, I got to pee. And she got up, and the minute she sat on the toilet, she vomited everywhere, which is a signal. Every pregnancy that we've had of a child, they vomit. And I was like, and I'm like, Lord, what are we going to do? I can't drive. And then when they got her up off the toilet, her clothes were all wet. Her water had broken. So now we had bleeding, we had vomiting, we had pains, we had broken water, high risk 13-year-old, 37 weeks pregnant. And so we're 90 minutes from the hospital if there's no traffic. And it's 10:30 at night. What are we going to do? So I called the children's home director, Dulce. She lives at the other end of the village. I got my assistant to guard the guardia where the gate is and the office and the cameras and the keys. And I drove with one of our 19-year-old daughters who had a baby 7 years ago to the end of the street to pick up the director, Dulce, and bring her back. And then we called the Red Cross ambulance in Talanga, and they did not answer the phone. Can you imagine? 10:30 at night, and you need an ambulance for a high-risk pregnancy, and the child is having 3-minute apart contractions. She's bleeding, she's vomiting, she has pains, and she's broken her water. They didn't answer, so I called the new 911 system in Honduras and got somebody into Google. Well, first time I called, it said the number didn't exist. So then I went into the pre-programmed numbers and called the Red Cross on 911, and it didn't go through. And then I called the version of FEMA, the emergency, wherever there's been disaster people, 911 under their name, and it went through and got somebody in Tagu, and they said, well, there's no ambulances in your area. And I'm like, listen, I can't drive. I'm on a lot of medicine. I cannot drive through the mountains. An animal comes in front of me, I may not respond correctly. We could be in an accident. I could go off the road, off the mountain. So she said she would call the police in Talanga, and I said, good, they know who we are. So at about 11:05, the police truck showed up, and there were 3 military police and 2 police officers, and we loaded our nurse, Lillian, the children's home director, Dulce, and Kimberly in the police truck, prayed over them, and sent them off into the night. Well, it's a 90-minute ride from here to the hospital, and they left at 11:15, so that's about 12:45, right? 12:30, 12:45. The baby was born in the hospital, natural pregnancy, no C-section, at 1:05 a.m. We had a little boy. Now, I think that was an angel on my roof, because if I had fallen asleep, the radio wouldn't have woken me up. Calling me on the phone wouldn't have woken me up because of all the meds that I had taken. And there were 2 locked gates between, not counting the lock gate on my house that doesn't even let you get near the door, but 2 locked gates between me and the children's home. I'm not sure how anybody would have woken me up or been able to get, she had the baby in less than 45 minutes of getting to the hospital, probably about within 30 minutes or 20 minutes of getting to the hospital. So I think that was an angel on my roof keeping me awake so that I could be awake when they needed me. So this is going to be a little bit longer message than normal because there's something I really want to share. Remember, yesterday I was in a grumpy mood, I didn't feel well, and I had not read my devotion for the day. I read it this morning during prayers and worship, and it says, and I will tell you where it's from Jesus Calling by Sarah Young. And for August 12th, it says, come to me when you are weak and weary. Rest snugly in my everlasting arms. I do not despise your weakness, my child. Actually, it draws me closer to you because weakness stirs up my compassion, my yearning to help. Accept yourself in your weakness, knowing that I understand how difficult your journey has been. And it goes on to talk more. And when they left, it was the first time I've not gone to the hospital. I knew that I couldn't go and be up all night because of the medicine, and also I could make myself sicker and flare up. I couldn't drive, so there were all of these I couldn'ts. But God came through with everything that was needed. And it has one of the scriptures is Isaiah 42:3 that says, a bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. In faithfulness he will bring forth justice. So then I was really emotional, and this morning I've been emotional. We had a baby, a baby boy, if I didn't tell you. But August, I was feeling silly for being so emotional about it, telling every employee as they came in the door, first the security guard and then the housekeeper and then the construction guy, and talking with everybody. August 13th today, it says, well, this will be after August 13th that it airs. This is the day that I'm recording it. It says, learn to enjoy life more. Relax, remembering that I am God with you. I crafted you with enormous capacity to know me and enjoy my presence. When my people wear sour faces, like I was yesterday, and walk through their lives with resigned rigidity, I am displeased. When you walk through the day with childlike delight, which is what I was feeling this morning, and feeling stupid for feeling that way, savoring every blessing, which we were just so blessed that everything worked out so well, you proclaim your trust in me, your ever-present shepherd. The more you focus on my presence with you, and the more fully you can enjoy life. Glorify me through your pleasure in me. Thus you proclaim my presence to the watching world. And then the scripture. Now let me tell you, we've been talking to this little girl about names for her baby. We've known it was a boy from all the ultrasounds. We do one every month with high-risk pregnancies. They're only $25 here in Honduras. So don't think we're spending money unwisely. I think it's $25 a month is worth having an ultrasound on a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old pregnant girl to be sure that she and the baby are doing well. But the name Samuel has been in my spirit. And this morning I told them, I said, Samuel is in my spirit for this baby. And last night, a missionary, when I posted immediately on Facebook, you can follow us on Facebook, we can put you in the secret group so you can be praying in the moment of something like this, be a part of the birth, or any other situation. And they said Samuel was one of the names for the baby, that she has 4 names, she doesn't know what it's going to be yet. And Emanuel was another of the 4 names, Samuel, Emanuel, and now I'm feeling like those two go together. I'll talk to her when she gets home. But the scripture for today, you're not going to believe this. One of the missionaries who posted last night on my post for prayer spoke a word of prophecy that this child is going to be a threat to the devil, and that God was going to use this child in a big way. Robert, don't forget that. We'll see what God does. But Matthew 1:23 is the scripture for today. The virgin will be with child and will give birth to a son, and they will call him Emanuel. Of all the scriptures to be for today. And the second one was John 10:10, that the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. See, this is a child who was raped and got pregnant, and we don't know if the mother's complicit or not, and she's with us for protection. And God took her out of a bad situation, put her in a place where she's getting food, and she was growing, and she had never gone to the dentist, and her whole mouth was a mess. And as of yesterday, she finished all of her dental work. She was going like once or twice a week to the free dentist at the clinic. And, I just cannot help but sit here and think about how God's hand moved last night. So I think there's a couple of things I want to say to you, that even in the midst of the darkness, even in the middle of the night, in the middle of the morning, the early morning hours when there's an emergency, God will always be there with you. Emmanuel, God with us. And he will work everything out. I mean, what better way in one of the most violent countries of earth for the child to go to the hospital, but in a police truck with 3 military police officers with big guns and 2 police officers inside with the director and the nurse in camino, on the way. And if any delay had been here because I'd fallen asleep or whatever, she would not have made it to the hospital. God, I believe he had an angel walk just 3 steps across my roof with weight to keep me awake, wondering what was going on, and talking to him sitting on the floor in the dark in my house, in a safe place, listening, and nothing happening, going to bed, and then the radio crackling. I mean, we're talking from nothing to birth. No pains, no signals, no nothing. From nothing to birth, 3 hours. And it's a 90-minute trip to the hospital. So there was 90 minutes between recognizing, when everything started, and getting help to get here, then getting her to the hospital, and then her giving birth. And she gave birth naturally. That in itself is a miracle. In 14 years of being here, we have never had a child under the age of 15 who gave birth able to do it naturally. Every single one's been an emergency, but not one has ever given birth naturally. And there were people praying for that. So we are like double the time for today, but it's an amazing thing. God with us. He is with us in every moment of our lives and everything that we need. He provides for all of our needs. He's with us in the middle of crisis. And he'll even keep you awake so that medicine won't keep you asleep when you need to be awake. He will provide the means when the normal means is not available. Like provide a police truck instead of an ambulance. And, don't be discouraged if you have a thorn in your side as Paul did, or as I do with the fibromyalgia. God will be with you. Take joy in what you can do. And I don't know. I'm overwhelmed. And like I said, I have no makeup on, don't have my hair done. But life is messy. Life is messy. And I'm thanking God for this ministry, because if we weren't here, I can't imagine what that child would have gone through, if the baby would have ever even survived or whatever. But God is glorious, 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 glorious. So don't forget to hit the like button. Please share this message with somebody else. Maybe it will encourage them. And please hit the subscribe button so that you can follow us with more teachings and commentary and testimony. Testimony, testimony, testify. I am testifying to an amazing, awesome God. God bless.